Let us pay respect. First bow. Second bow. Third bow.
Good morning, everyone at Zoom land. I hope you're enjoying the retreat. In any tradition, Buddhist or Christian, you especially if like in say in Buddhism, you'll have the ideas of popular culture that people talk about, and it won't necessarily be accurate to what the Buddhist teaching is. So take the word nibbana. So popular culture would say, Pai Nibbana, right? So I'm going to Nibbana, which is, where is it, in Phuket or, Arizona? So there's the idea that Nibbana is a place you go to, but from my little understanding, what I've read about the word Nibbana, it was a common word, and it was just meant to cool. So if a woman was cooking rice, and the rice had been cooked and it was very hot, she'd put it aside, take off the lid, take it off the fire, and it would get nibbanaed. So you have popular culture, and then you have different ideas. So you have to be careful of popular culture, because you could think you know something, but all you know is what popular culture says. And of course, we make a lot of jokes now about nirvana perfumes, or I think there's a samsara perfume. I know there's a Mara perfume. Right? So popular culture plays around with those things. And then also, I think the way I see in Theravada Buddhism, there seem to be two avenues of discussion or consideration in how we talk about progress on the path. One seems to be about attainment, getting samadhi, becoming sotapatti, going to nibbana, that kind of language you find. But there's another kind of language which is about letting go. And one of the ways it's taught, or cessation, nirod, cessation, or you find in the translations in English, cessation without remainder. And then a middle way is like liberation of the heart, which kind of doesn't talk about, well, I guess it does talk in some way. So my preference is the Ploywang way, the cessation way, rather than the attainment way, because I think popular culture misrepresents some of those ideas around attainment, and they become a kind of, well, for one thing, I can know the, say, defilements of mind. I can know how I suffer, and I can address that without believing in any kind of future attainment. But if you tell me I have to get something which I don't even know, I haven't even seen, that becomes really problematic, because how do I practice that? Well, the teacher says, well, you just do this and you'll get there. And the thing about the Buddha Dhamma for me, that it is a reflective teaching. It's something I can reflect on, that I don't really have to depend on you or a teacher. The teacher is very, very helpful. And if the teaching, for me at least, doesn't have that possibility of me reflecting on it and looking and considering and bringing it to my own heart, then I I don't see that as very helpful. So sometimes you'll find you can get very intimidated by teachers saying you have to get this and you have to get that. And then you go to the teacher and you say, am I getting there? He says, well, maybe. How do you know? You should, well, you have to rely on someone. But Luangpor Chah would always say, no, you got to rely on yourself. So whenever monks would go to him with doubts, I mean, he would answer questions and they would say, Luangpor, do I have attainment? He'd look at them, do you have attainment? He'd never answer. He'd never say that. And that seems to be the most, to me, at least to my character, the right way for me, at least. I have seen monks going to other monks and say, I have Sotapatti, or I have this. And the other monk says, no, you don't. Okay. But I think that's a kind of distraction. I think that's a real distraction. Whereas when I use the Four Noble Truths, I suffer, and I want to be free from suffering. No one has to persuade me to that. And I can look at the causes of suffering, and I can understand the causes, and I can learn how to let go of the causes of suffering. I can confirm it for myself. You may say to me, oh, you're just a stupid old monk. You don't know. But if I'm free from fear, I know. If I'm free from anger, I know, right? And so that kind of approach is the idea of cessation without remainder, where things fall away, ploy wong. And that is the language of like kilesa, mikile. So it's defilements coming up into the mind. We can look at that, restlessness or whatever. Or anusaya means latent tendencies. Like I can see that I have a tendency towards anxiety, or I have a tendency towards aggressiveness, or whatever. Or vipaka kamma. Like the word vipaka kamma is kind of like popular notions, is that I was maybe I killed rabbits in a past life, and so now I have fear. Come on. I don't know that. But I do know that in this life, for some reason, cultural, familial, social, something has been conditioned into consciousness, which is fearful or angry, and so this stream of consciousness experiences some kind of result from childhood conditioning, from social conditioning, and all the rest of it. And that I can see, that I don't need to have some woo-woo belief about past lives. And I'm not dismissing past lives, but you can see how we can get very caught up with that kind of speculation, right? We don't know. And how many people really know that? So without dismissing those possibilities, and sometimes it is useful maybe to think in that way, we can think in real life terms about real life experiences, how to be free, and how to let go, and see how the greed, hatred, and delusion does cease in our minds. That's confirmation. And I mean, that's what we want, isn't it? We want to be free from suffering. The rest should take care of itself. And I think if you use that approach, then those other ideas of like stream entry and so on, they become more apparent as possibilities in the realm of letting go, in the realm of things falling away, rather than the realm of attainment and getting and becoming. And when you look at, like, say, like the arguments around Sotapatti, Sakaya Ditti, Silabhata Paramasa, and Vichikicha, doubt. So you have Sakaya Ditti, personality view. Now I can see how if I'm feeling anxiety and I know the self-thinking around anxiety, I let go of the self-thinking, anxiety is an object, I can see anxiety cease without remainder, right? Now that's not an attainment, it's just intelligent. I'm intelligently dealing with this ego thinking and I'm dropping it. So that's doable. Silabhata Paramasa is, we say belief in rites and rituals. And Ajahn Sumedho defines that really broadly. He says that's cultural conditioning or familial conditioning. And I like that. I mean, in English, it used to get translated as superstition. So no, I'm not superstitious. You know, not me. I'm intelligent. But you know, you have family condition, what a man should be, what a woman should be, in all manner of ways. And like, let's say, when we went to England, I was talking to the two monks about this. When we went to England in '77, Luangpor Viradhammo and the three of us, we were always anxious that we did something wrong in the Akuba Ajahn tradition. We're in England, right? It's a different country, but you think, it's like we thought somewhere the Thai Ajahns are watching us. It's kind of paranoia. And that was cultural conditioning. We've been so conditioned by this strong, beautiful tradition from Wat Pah Pong, right? That we didn't have breakfast for 3 years. No, 4 years. You know, 1 meal a day, 1 meal a day, 1 meal a day. No, okay. So we got to Chithurst, and we didn't have much money. So we had to do a lot of road work, and we couldn't afford one of these diggers. So all that we could afford was pakao and agaricus, slave labor. And, you know, we're feeding these guys 1 meal a day. You can't even have a coffee or a tea. And they started to faint. They're collapsing in the morning, right? I said, well, wait a minute. 1 meal a day? Well, maybe we should have tea. Tea, you know, are the Kubajans watching? And then we went from tea to gruel. Now, gruel was oatmeal, but it had to be watery. It couldn't be solid, right? It was horrible stuff. You know, not like cow tom. No, it was just kind of gruel. And then you couldn't have 2 cups. You had to have 1 cup because we were really ascetic, right? Kupachans are watching. Ajahn Sachita tells ask him to tell the story. It's so funny when he talks about this. And so now the breakfast I had, I said, oh, I hope no one's watching. But so that was, it was, and when Luangpor Viradhammo asked Luangpor Cha, how should we do it? He says, well, you're the expert. You're in England. I don't know. It's not, you know, I trust you. Go for it. And so that is Silabhata Paramasa. You see what I mean? In a broader sense. And we have that, you know, like Thai culture, you get conditioned differently than American culture. And you have, and I mean, I like culture. I don't want to live as a barbarian without culture, right? And it does create norms and values and you know, it creates order in society. So I'm not against culture, but when culture creates fear and anxiety or judgment of others through various kind of cultural attachments, then okay, that's Silabhata Paramasa. So it's a kind of interesting, and it is about ego again, you know, like other Kupachans watching, or you know, kind of fearfulness or whatever it might be. So that's the second one in stream entry. So you could see how if I'm always just like culturally conditioned to be a Wat Pah Pong bhikkhu, and I have to do this all the time, and I have to do this all the time, that creates a kind of ego, you know, like and it's always I'm always holding to this kind of form, and then I'm afraid if I step outside of that form, that's a kind of ego. And I'm not saying you just throw the form out and start drinking whiskey in the evening. You know, that's not it either. It doesn't have to be that. You can say, oh yeah, there is this structure in this form, but how can I live in this form without fear? How can this form help me? How can a citizen of Thailand live within the beautiful forms of Thailand and enjoy them, but not be always in a kind of fearful state or judgmental state or whatever? So you could see Sakaya Ditti and Silabhata Paramasa are kind of one thing. I mean, they're both talking about ego, sense of self. Vicikicca, doubt, is like, 'cause sometimes it's caged like you have no more doubt in the Buddhist teaching, which it almost implies you'd never doubt, which is crazy. If you can't doubt, you're not intelligent, right? You're a water buffalo. So doubting is very, very kind of powerful part of our intellect. A scientist questions and looks and sees results and so on. So there's nothing wrong with doubting per se. And doubting the teaching, it's not like you don't believe the teaching, is use doubt to investigate the teaching. What does he mean by that? That kind of thing. But in terms of, I think this fetter, if we combine the three, I think vicikiccha is the kind of thinking mind which creates doubts and then creates a sense of self, always trying to solve these doubts, which is different than just like scientific analysis. Scientific analysis it's on science. You're seeing the data, you're contemplating the results of experiments. It's not ego-driven, it's not self-driven. Whereas self-doubt is very much, have I got it right? Or is that really correct? Or should I be doing this? And so I think these three are really a kind of one package. Doubting as a sense of self, cultural attachments as a sense of self, and just the language of self-creating, which we call ahankara mimankara. And you can see if those aren't functioning, then I'm seeing things as they are. I'm seeing Dhamma. And so you could say, I'm in the stream of Dharma now, rather than in the stream of ego and self. Now, whether that's correct or not, in terms of, some Kubajan might say, Viradhammo, you rubbish. Okay, this is what that feels like. But I can reflect on it. I can use it to, and this is the way Luangpor Viradhammo has taught me. I can reflect on it. But if you tell me I have to attain something that I don't even know about, I can't reflect on it. I can try. Is that it? No, try. So you can get interpretations of teaching which are a parallel. One teacher defines it this way, another, they don't have to be mutually conflicting. It doesn't have to be a conflict, as long as you can reflect on it and it leads to some sense of liberation and peace. So look in your own cultural language of Buddhism. What is popular Buddhism? And then what do you think the Buddha actually taught? What might be theirs? And Nibbana is the best idea of that, isn't it? And I hope Granny goes to Nibbana. Sure, right. I hope she gets to Phuket, right? But if Nibbana is a cooling, right? Is a cooling. Now, what would that be in terms of Granny's passing? One of our monks, his mom just died, so that's why we sent him condolences. But like popularly, we say, "Yeah, I hope she has a good rebirth," and that probably works in that way. But what would coolness mean at the point of death? What that might Well, I don't know okay, what's heat? What's heat? Passion, anger, fear, wanting another cappuccino. So I'm dying and I think, oh, another cappuccino. Whoop, reborn. I'm now a barista at Starbucks. I shouldn't have done that. Bad move. But if the mind is like cool, right? Like, and what would coolness be? Well, Benyang Niang is cool, isn't it? It's like this. It feels like this. Very ordinary. So then, as the extremes of death come upon us, the extremes of bodily degradation, and so on, if we've practiced coolness, right? And oh yeah, this is what losing, just like the body not being able to move, or all the things that happen in the death process. Then you can see that coolness would be the way consciousness experiences death. And then we don't know. then I always joke to people, sometimes, like maybe once a year, I know someone who is dying and I go to hospice and chat with them and chant with them. And then I always say to them, I said, can you send me a rainbow when you make your exit? I don't know. I haven't, looking for a rainbow. So we don't know. We can speculate, but we don't know. But we do know what coolness feels like and what heat feels like anger and fear and worry and all those things. So that's why I prefer the language of kind of letting go, cessation, and the rest I think takes care of itself, at least for me. Right. So so in terms of letting go, I wanted to speak to the hindrance, the niwon, is that in Thai? Yeah, the nivarana in Pali, of sleepiness and dullness, because it's a very difficult hindrance actually to deal with, because you're not there. You're basically out of the picture. So, you like, if you become chronically dull and sleepy, then meditation becomes equated with sleeping. You don't want that. So you don't want to be sitting and then the bell rings. This is not meditation. And that is the danger of I suppose getting too relaxed in meditation. So how to deal with dullness and sleepiness? First of all, you have to recognize that is a niwon that you are experiencing. So sometimes you just have to ask your friends, can you watch me during the meditation? Some people just don't know. They're not aware that they're falling asleep. And you tell them, they say, well, yeah, it was all right, actually. Yeah, but why was your head on your chest? Huh? So there's no body awareness there. And I certainly, you've heard me talk about this, but I had that in my 3rd year as a monk, I think, where I was in a lot of sleepiness, but I wasn't aware of it. And then one monk said to me, you're nodding a lot. I said, no, I'm not. You don't know me. I was really awake. And then I thought, uh-oh. And then I started, I tell this story often, but I was visiting my mom, and I sat in front of a full-length mirror, and I set the clock for 10 minutes. I usually sat for an hour. And I just wanted to see, what is my posture like after 10 minutes? And I was down here. I said, wow, I wasn't even aware of that. And that really shocked me. It really did. And I thought, okay, come on, get your act together. So then I try to figure out how to actually deal with the nivarana. And then I could see that whatever I'm doing in meditation is not working. I have to stop meditating. Just if I'm doing anapanasati or whatever, just you have to stop. So I just learned, okay, first of all, look around. Just look up. And as I always joke, watch other people nodding. And then, but stop meditating and wake up. And so you wake up, okay, now you can start. Now you can start. And then I would set my posture. And then obviously the obvious things, trying to keep your eyes open. And wow, is that difficult? If you're sleepy, your eyes just feel like a ton. And you thought, oh, I'm okay. I can close my gone again. No, you cannot close your eyes. So it's quite a coarse investigation. It's not refined at all. And the best things I learned, and I thought I could do this during this meditation coming, is to, you use combinations of pranayama and body stretches in yoga. So what I learned to do was quite extreme. So I would push my hara out, the belly, and push the coccyx, the tailbone, down into the ground. So that created quite a strong curve in the small of the back. And then I would put a lot of emphasis on opening the chest, and then getting the chin tucked in nicely so that the back of the neck was straight. And then I'd stretch upwards from the top of the head up to the ceiling. So that's quite extreme. And then I would use, and I'll do this in this meditation, and then I use deep breathing to stretch this way, to stretch up and down, up and down, up and down. And I might do it for 20 minutes. And so it wasn't like, I think I'll just watch the breath. It was because that depth of dullness is so coarse, you have to use something quite coarse to counter it. So in the doing of that, if you contemplate what happens to your body when you feel dull, your chest is collapsing, your throat is collapsing, and so what's happening to your oxygen intake? It's lessening. Your spine isn't giving you much energy, so your whole system is kind of closing down. So physically, you sort of learn to open it all up and try to keep it more erect until the nivarana is not so powerful. Now, when you've understood the nivarana, you'll know the difference between just being sleepy and I'm going to go have a rest. I've seen, like, my early years of meditation, I might, like in an afternoon, try to struggle with the nivarana of dullness for like 2 hours. I couldn't get through it. I'd go for a half-hour rest, sleep for half an hour, come back, I was done. So just pushing through the nivarana actually wasn't so profitable. I had to see my own biorhythms and see, well, what's going to be really helpful now? Is it like having a power nap, as they say, or dealing with this? And both are true. So in dealing with it, once I figured out how to use the hara, use my spine, and that I could see the nivarana coming into consciousness. I could go there. I knew my own method, and I could keep it strong until that nivarana was not strong. And if it was stronger, then I would do it longer, quite simply. But at least I had a methodology, physical, that could now see the nivarana, understand it, and deal with it. Now, a more refined way of dealing with dullness is like simply listening to the sound of silence. That's a much more refined way when the nivarana is not so strong. You just use the sound of silence to tune in like a radio. Does anyone use radio anymore? I'm old school. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're kind of tuning into something, and you have to be attentive. You have to be attentive to that, because as soon as the mind gets dull, you kind of lose that. So that's a more refined way of dealing with it. So let's maybe just stretch our legs, and then I'll walk through that kind of meditation. So take a posture and bring attention to let's say to the spine. Make conscious the feelings of the spine. Kind of get in contact with it. And the shoulders, the back of the neck. So feel the whole spine from the neck down through to the coccyx, right down to the base. Let that be conscious. And then feel your shoulders in connection to the spine. Let me see. Let's say push your belly, your hara forward. And then feel the small of the back curving to the front. And then push the base of your spine down into the cushion. So you have the movement down and out. Try that first. Okay, let go of that. Now come on up to the head and shoulders. So open your shoulders and then tuck your chin in and feel the back of the neck nice and straight along the spine. And then go to the top of your head and imagine there's a hook in the top of your head pulling you up to the ceiling. So you stretch up, you feel the sides and back of the neck and the shoulders, chest opening. Okay, and let go of that. So those two movements, we'll try to coordinate. First, we use deep breathing. So bring attention to the breathing of the body. And start to expand and lengthen the in-breath. Expand and lengthen the out-breath. Something that's comfortable but bigger than normal. So again, long breath in. And get a sense of like enjoying the breath rather than it being some kind of athletic event. So long breath in and long breath out. Make the breathing smooth. Long breath in. Long breath out. And make the in-breath the same length as the out-breath. So we're going to try to sustain that long breathing for quite a while. So don't make it too extreme, but more than normal. Long breath in, long breath out. Now on the out breath, we'll push the hara forward and the coccyx down into the cushion. So we're going down into the ground like the roots of a tree. So long breath in, and on the out breath, long breath out, pushing down, hara out. Long breath in, long breath out, pushing down and out. On the out breath, down and out. Keep to the long breath. So in terms of sleepiness, you could see if you're sleepy, you'll lose the long breath. It'll just be a shallow breath. So you notice it, go back, long breath in, and then pushing down and out on the out breath. Once you get used to that, then On the out breath now, do the upper part of the body. Long breath in, long breath out, stretching up the top of the spine, through the neck, up to the ceiling, and the chest and shoulders opening out. So long breath in, long breath out, up and chest open, stretching up and chest open. On the out breath. Again, keep with the long breath, nice and smooth, even. Stretching up. Enjoy the stretch. Don't make it too harsh. Do it something like you're really enjoying the stretch. And then combine the two. Long breath in, long breath out, stretching up and pushing down. Hara out, chest out. Long breath in, long breath out, down and up. And just maintain that stretching exercise for quite a few breaths. See what happens. And then at some point you normalize the breath. So let the breath return to normal. Come back to a relaxed and straight posture. And then if you start to feel sleepy, go to that right away. Don't let the sleepiness just take over. Go to that. Go to the hara right away. Push down, open up. And each time you see the nivarana, go to that. Until you can understand it and know what to do. Anyway, back to just normal, your normal breathing. And listen to sound. Feel your body. Whole body awareness. Body as sensation. Changing in awareness. So choose the practice you want, kind of all kinds of choices. And experiment, see how it works. But if you feel the nirvana of dullness, then go to that right away. All right, I'll be quiet and we'll sit quietly for the rest.